I don't think I'm going to, I almost thought of not using this because if I use this, I'm going to look at it. Welcome to the Ask Anything podcast. My name is Peter LaRufa. Now, why do I have this Ask Anything podcast? What's going on? How is this related to Ask Anything? Well, here's the deal. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that just about once a week, I do this thing called Ask Anything, where I just take questions from people and have received lots of great questions, lots of great feedback, and quite frankly, it's one of my favorite things that I do each week. It's not a stressor. It's super fun being able to talk with different people. Let me give you a little bit of a backdrop on that, why I did that, and kind of what I was thinking. Actually, let me just go back a few years. I started this podcast that I called Between the Lines, and that happened because at the end of every sermon, there would be content that I had cut out. So during sermon prep, I have an outline document, I have the actual sermon transcript, then I have a scratch document, and then I have a study document. So I'll talk to you about the scratch document. The scratch document is what gets all the things that I've cut out of my sermon, but they were still good things. They just got cut out for time because I don't want to just go on and on and on. And usually it's introductory stuff, because usually by the end of the sermon, I found something that I want to spend way more time on than I did my introduction. So that stuff gets cut out. But that stuff is actually still helpful. It's still useful. I benefited from it in studying it. I know it, you don't, and I would still love to share it with you. And so Between the Lines was, okay, let's talk about what did I not say in my sermon that I wish I could have said in my sermon? And I would podcast that stuff every now and again. Sometimes I would do Sunday recaps and talk about some application points that I personally took away from when Pastor Brad preached. So I did that for a little bit. But then I kind of fell off the wagon when it came to that stuff. I really enjoyed recording it, but I got into my head about it and I started re-recording stuff, and that which was originally easy became like just a chore. And I'm not very good at editing it, so more times than not, I would just re-record it, which just takes a long time. And so, needless to say, that which was enjoyable became a chore, and it just got crowded out. So I hardly ever did that. Then last year, 2020, during COVID, I started Ask Anything, which is something that I do usually on a Monday or a Tuesday, and I post it to Instagram on my stories, and it literally just says Ask Anything, and I usually do a song or something funny, like just a funny graphic or something, and people can ask anything. I did that because it was 2020, and we were having two things I noticed. Number one, we were having less conversation and interaction than ever because of quarantine, because of different circumstances that had befallen us, most of us, for the very first time in our lives. I noticed we were talking less, and I noticed when we were talking, we were not speaking in helpful ways. So there is either no discussions happening, no dialogue, or that which was happening online was unhelpful, not edifying, not even fun. Facebook always had been a dumpster fire. It just became a dumpster fire that had like poop piled on it. I mean, it just got worse and worse. And so I really had a desire to interact with different people and just to talk about things. And so I was like, ask anything. And I'll just answer it. And they range from the very serious to the mundane to the mocking. I get mocked a lot through Ask Anything, like about being a Mets fan. So I try to suffer well. But anyway, it's just been a fun way to interact with different people. And I was not like hoping it goes viral or anything, but the viewership kept going up. It gets several hundred views each week. And several times people would say, have you ever thought of doing a podcast? And I was like, oh, yeah, but I tried and it didn't really work. But I feel like I'm at a different spot now with a little more time and a little more help from some key friends who are able to help me maybe do this well. And so what I'm going to do is I'm launching something called the Ask Anything podcast. And it's this, because some things are better heard than read. And that's true, because if you think about it, when I send someone a text message, when you send someone a text message, that is read. You lose a lot of control as to how that's interpreted, right? A lot of times people are reading your message based on their mood, the kind of day they've had, what they think you might mean. It's missing tone of voice. It's missing eye contact. It's missing a lot of things that God created us to use when we communicate with people. So when I started Ask Anything, I committed to making sure that any question I answered was just answered on one Instagram slide. So it wasn't going to be this dissertation on something. It was going to be a quick answer. Maybe it'll pique some curiosity. You can go and look up more information on your own if you want. Then I started getting some questions that were really hard to answer on one slide, and so it would become two slides. Then I started getting questions that I really enjoyed answering, and I wasn't just answering on my phone. I was typing on my laptop. I typed pretty fast, and then I was copying it over to my phone and then posting on Instagram. And I enjoyed that, but then they became 6, 7, 8 slides. It's not a sin. It's not bad. But I did notice, I got a little bit into the analytics. I noticed that some of those weeks, the what is it, the count, whatever it is, the people viewing went down a little. And so I felt like that might not have been helpful. Like Instagram stories, some people like reading them as a blog, and some people are just like, they want something fast. And so what I did recently is I had a poll, and I just posted this on my Instagram story, like, hey, would you prefer keep it simple, like short and simple, or like tell me more, make it long? 62% of you want the long stuff. Well, so that's kind of why I'm here, because I would like to be able to answer those questions in a thorough way, but oftentimes it takes me a long time to think about how to type that stuff so that you can hear tone through text, and that's really hard. And so this is the Ask Anything podcast because some things really are better heard than read. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some questions, maybe questions, probably not questions from the actual week that it'll post, but just questions that I thought, ooh, that was good. I'm actually not going to answer that or not going to answer that completely, and I'm going to answer more of that on a podcast. And you can tune in to listen to it wherever you get your podcasts, or you can watch it right here on this video. And hopefully that'll serve you. I'm looking forward to it. I plan on having some guests with me. Not necessarily. Sometimes it'll be guests that I think would do really well on a topic. Other times it'll just be because dialogue is better than monologue. And it would be really fun if I was talking about this with someone rather than just staring at a lens. I don't mind staring at a lens. I'd rather stare at a face. And so Sarah said that she's willing to come on, and I'm looking forward to having her on. I know you guys really love her better than me, which I totally get. And it should be fun. So that's it. That's what I'm doing. I'm excited to answer these questions. I've really enjoyed answering the questions that have been submitted so far. Some of them have been really deep. Some of them have been super funny. I mean, I've laughed a lot. I've enjoyed it. And I'm looking forward to this new chapter, this new way of doing Ask Anything. And I can't wait to hear from you.